Welcome back, hockey fans, to another Redhawks Report Podcast. I'm Braden Doe, and this is
Marcus. We're back with another episode. This is episode 2, so still very new at this. I hope the audio is better. We do have a few things to go over. We don't know exactly how long it will take, but I did do a poll on Twitter. What people think is a good amount of time, and around an hour seems to be the sweet spot, so we will try to keep it to around an hour. But yeah, so we were going to start out with our favorite teams and why.
I just felt like the audience should get to know us a little bit better, know what we like in a hockey team and a hockey player. Just, pick at our brains a little bit more. I'll start if you want.
Oh yeah, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I'm a lifelong Habs fan. I've always going to be a Habs fan. I'm diehard. But that really goes back to 2002 when I got to see Saku Koivu beat cancer and come back. Like that was really just like a huge moment. Being a Habs fan, seeing this guy score the OT winner in Boston in the end of the season in April, it was just like a magical moment. Like there's moments like that throughout Habs fandom that I just have to tip my hat to these guys. They're just the best, man.
Funny thing is, I've also seen Saku Koivu.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I was in Florida in 2003, in February 2003, and I saw Florida Panthers face Montreal Canadiens in what was then called the Ice Palace. It's the same. It's the same arena. It's just a different name now.
That's sick.
So I did see Saku Koivu play for the Habs. My favorite team is the Florida Panthers. Simple reason, I've seen them twice in my life live. First time I was way too small. We were in Tampa in 1997. We saw Tampa Bay Lightning versus Florida Panthers, a very early rival game. Neither team was particularly good. I don't remember a thing because I was like 3-4 years old. But in 2003, when I was 10, and we did do it again, and that time it was a home game in Miami. I fell in love with the logo, with the panther with the broken stick,
Nice.
So that was the 10-year-old me that was the draw. Like the logo, the panther was really cool, and at the time Nike had the slogan "Just Do It," and Nike was the main partner to Panthers, so it was "Just Do It Panthers" was the slogan, right? So.
Sick.
So it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. And yeah, I had a few T-shirts and stuff like that. So that's how I fell in love with Florida Panthers. I've been a Panthers fan ever since. I can't say that I have actively watched them play until the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. Mostly because when the games are on, it's very late here, so it's very hard to keep up. I will say though, since around 2018, I have been watching the Hockey Guy on YouTube to keep up with NHL, and that is he's definitely one of my favorite YouTubers when it comes to hockey.
Okay.
So yeah.
If we're shouting out hockey YouTubers, for me it's got to be Hockey Junkie. This guy puts out the best Habs content.
Hockey
out there,
Junkie.
man.
Okay.
It's so funny.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the best. Cool. Junkie's the best.
My second favorite team, if I'm allowed to have one,
of course,
is actually Colorado Avalanche.
Nice.
Because of Peter Forsberg, and I'm too young to ever have seen him play. Because he was so injury prone, he was so ravaged by injuries. By the time I was old enough to watch hockey, he was out of the game pretty much. I remember him playing for Philly, but he wasn't the same. Like he would still put up like insane amount of points considering, but he was injured so much. it was sad to see. But
That
he
is
is still a legend and revered in Colorado, and I was an exchange student in Colorado in 2010, 2011. So yeah, and then I saw Colorado Avalanche face Red Wings in Pepsi Center in Denver that Christmas as well in 2010. So there's a connection there as well. I've seen them live, and yeah. So those are that's my second favorite team. I don't follow them as closely because that's 8 hours behind, so it's really, really difficult to keep up with their games. So it's much easier with the East Coast teams for sure.
Makes a lot of sense.
But yeah, so that brings us into favorite players. You mentioned Saku Koivu, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Saku and like his journey as an NHL player, being 5'8", 5'7", 170 pounds, 180 pounds soaking wet. Like, this guy was not a big guy, yet he could have won Selkies. Like, I mean, he was so good, 200-foot game, clutch player. Yeah, I would have to say he's my second favorite Hab of all time. My favorite being Brendan Gallagher. I hear it all the time. Gally's a bum. That contract sucks. But watching Prime Gally 2014, 2013, like, that guy works so hard, man. Like, he did not, care about his body, really. Like, I know he did, but this guy would go into the areas with Zdeno Chara, Nathan Horton, and Milan Lucic and just take damage, man. Toughest player I've ever seen.
Right, yeah. As I mentioned, Forsberg is a favorite, but I have to say, I'm also proud that Malmö is the reason why he doesn't have a Swedish championship. So in 1994, he's won everything else, okay? He's won the Stanley Cup several times. He's won Olympic gold. He's won the World Cup. He's won literally everything except the championship. And the reason why is because in 1994, Malmö and Modo faced off in the finals, and Malmö won their second Swedish championship. And the year after, obviously, he went to North America, so he didn't get the chance to do it again. So
let's go.
So that is sort of like a parallel, I love the player, but I also love the fact that we kept him away from that achievement of literally winning everything that is available for him to win, So as far as other Swedish players, I gotta say I like Gustav Nyquist. He's local from here in Limhamn in Malmö, in southern Malmö. But he didn't go the normal route. He went through the university. He went through NCAA.
That's right.
And I also love Andrei Burakovsky, obviously. He did play for us for a year, I think, and then he went through the junior leagues in Canada before he emerged in Washington, and he's a Stanley Cup champion as well. So, but yeah, those are like players that are elsewhere that are not in my favorite teams. In terms of my current favorite players in Florida Panthers, it gotta be Barkov, man. Barkov, he should have won more Selkies if it wasn't for other players that.
The trees.
Yeah, Bergeron. If not for Bergeron, Barkov should have won more Selke trophies. He's such a defensive beast, and I mean the fact that Barkov and Forsling, when they were both on the ice all last season, they only let in 6 goals when they were both on the ice together. That is absolutely mental. That is insane.
Yeah. That is beyond insane, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
They
deserved that cup, man. They deserved it.
Yeah. They definitely. I don't think that they will be doing the repeat. It's very, very difficult to do a repeat, but
it is.
I think they will go to the Eastern finals again.
Wow. Okay.
I think they will. I think they won't go all the way, but I think they will be there and thereabouts. they're definitely still a contender in my opinion.
Well, talking about standings and such,
Mm-hmm.
I guess I can move into the next segment. I was going to cover today just my very, very early predictions on how this season could shape up.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a few talking points. A few divisions are relatively unchanged, and a few are very changed. And I just want to go over some of that today. I'm going to start out west and end in the Metropolitan, and start in the Pacific, and we'll go from there. So, in the Pacific Division, I do believe the Edmonton Oilers are still going to be that first place team. Vancouver's very close behind. I think those two really have a huge jump in talent level above the rest.
Yep.
I think LA's done a great job. I mean, just getting rid of the Pierre-Luc contract is a win, right? And I think Darcy Kemper could be better than Cam Talbot. We'll see. I mean, he had a pretty rough year in Washington, so that one's going to be tough. But I do have the LA Kings finishing third, and fourth, the Vegas Golden Knights. I think they're just rough. It's tough losing Marchessault, and I racked my brain about this the last couple days, but I do think Vegas is going to edge out Seattle this year. But Seattle's made some good additions. I wouldn't be that surprised to see Seattle be that fourth place team. Only time will tell with that one. The Pacific's hard.
I was gonna say, like, Seattle has made a few good additions, and I could definitely see that boost morale. And have other players that have been there for a while, like Andrei Burakovsky, for example, that could boost him and make him score more goals.
Absolutely. And Oliver Bjorkstrand.
Another example, yep.
Absolutely. And Matty Beniers had a tough year. So, to see him come back and have a 70, 80-point season, easily I could see Seattle there. I just look at Vegas's blue line, and, they're just so big and mean and nasty, and their window's closing. Their cup window is as long as Petrangelo's in his prime, and he's in his mid-30s now. The task for him is it's mounting. The weight on Petrangelo's shoulders is mounting, and no hate at all to Shea Theodore, but he hasn't been that guy in a while, and I'd really like to see him do it. Between Vegas and Seattle will be very close. I'm saying within 3 points, those two. In the Central Division, I think Nashville and Dallas are going to be very, very strong clubs. I think Nashville's goaltending and defense was already among the league's best, and now adding Marchessault, Brady Shea, and Steven Stamkos, of course, their power play is going to roll. I really believe that these guys are experienced enough, playoff worthy and everything. I really think Nashville could win the Central, but Dallas is a powerhouse, so I would not be surprised to see Dallas go first and Nashville second.
I do agree with you. However, I would want to say that Colorado is like a sleeping giant. They haven't.
Absolutely.
They could just as well knock Nashville down a peg. Because it is difficult. Steven Stamkos has been in the same place for I don't know how many years. He's moving to a new team, new environment. It's not guaranteed that it's going to be all success. So, and the same thing for Marchessault. I mean, Marchessault is one of the original Vegas, but before then, people forget that Marchessault was really good in Florida before he got picked up. Yeah, people forget that, but he was really good in Florida.
He was.
So I understand what you're saying, and if everything clicks, then yeah, Nashville will most likely be the team to try to beat Dallas. But Colorado is going to be right there behind them.
Slouch.
Yeah. I don't know about Winnipeg. I don't know about Winnipeg. Honestly, I don't know what to make of them.
I really don't like their lack of moves.
Right, they haven't done
Like
anything in the offseason, right?
Like, I get signing Dylan DeMello. I think Dylan DeMello is a great defenseman, especially with Josh Morrissey. But losing Brendan Dillon, like, he's one of your toughest guys. I just don't see Winnipeg doing better than they've done. And I see all the other teams in their division, excluding Chicago, Minnesota, St. Louis. They're relatively mid, I should say. But other than those three, like, Utah is going to be a better team. Nashville's going to be a better team. Colorado's always going to be good as long as they have Mack and Makar, Rantanen. Like, I mean, they're just so top.
They're still stacked.
They're stacked, you know, and so I can kind of see Winnipeg not being that team, and I really do believe that Utah, last year could have been a better team, but they had so much bull crap going on with ownership,
off ice distractions,
all
for sure.
Stuff. That's right. Now their center depth in Utah isn't ideal. Like, Nick Schmaltz is a great player, but I don't think I've ever seen him score 70 points, right? He's playing with Clayton Keller. Like, he should be putting up those numbers.
Yeah.
They've had injury problems. I don't want to blame these guys. They have a great young core, but adding Sergachev and I'm drawing a blank here, but there was another defenseman they added. Was it John Marino? Let me see. It was John Marino.
Utah Hockey Club. Let me just check here. John Marino, correct, and Ian Cole as well. I don't know if that is
Cole as well.
If that is relevant, I don't know, but John Marino and Mikhail Sergachev is the big ones.
Mm-hmm. And these are very experienced players. I don't think Marino had a great year in New Jersey. I don't think he was the right player for them. But
yeah, he wasn't the right fit, I don't think.
That's right. I think Utah with an improved blue line, and Vejmelka had a down year. Like, he's never had a sub 900 save percentage in the NHL. It's bananas. Like, this kid's great. So if Vejmelka and Ingram have a good season, plus the additions they've made on blue line, like, I can very easily see Utah being better than Winnipeg. And that's sad because I love Connor Hellebuck.
He has actually. I will correct you on this. The first year with Arizona, he had an .898 save percentage over 52 games. But it's still. But yeah. I'm on his page, but it's still really close. Like, he's always around there. 898,
he's been
900, and then 897. But yeah, I'm looking at the page. So without looking, I wouldn't have known. But I had to check because that would have been insane if he's never ever had below 900. But yeah, he 2021, 2022 he did have. So
for a few years he was carrying the team. Is all I really
Yeah. He's definitely he's been playing 50 plus games the last 2 years before last season, and yeah, he's been great for them.
Arizona's been pretty bad around him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I'm hoping for a big bounce back season for Veg, and Ingram was great. He finished third for Vezina voting last year.
Oh yeah.
So I think honestly Utah, they're a sleeping giant as well, but very young. Like, if they don't make it, I'm not saying it's over rebuild, like they have a lot of runway. Winnipeg does not. Winnipeg needs to win now or they're in trouble, right?
Yeah. You want to know what's cool? During the COVID season, guess where Connor Ingram played 9 games?
In Malmö?
No, but he played in Sweden. I didn't even know this.
Wow.
He played in Hockeyallsvenskan, which is the second tier, with IF Björklöven. He had a 5-4 record, 9 games, 2.51 goals against average, 898 save percentage. So he had one shutout. So
that's not great.
Interesting for sure, but 9 games is a very small sample size. But yeah, and also, I mean, the team around him is not NHL level, so we'll give him a pass on that. All right, you go ahead if you want to continue.
Yeah, so that was it for the Central Division. Just to go over, I have the Oilers making it to the playoffs. I have Vancouver making it to the playoffs, and I have LA making it to the playoffs. That's only 3 teams in the Pacific Division. In the Central Division, I actually have 5 teams, which is Dallas.
Don't you have Vegas in there as well as a wild card?
It's between. You're right. Actually, you're right. It's between Vegas and like being the 4th team in the Pacific, and Utah being the
okay.
in the Central.
Okay,
I
so
do
one
still
of them...
think that Winnipeg could make it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they have Connor Hellebuck. I'll never bet against that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really tough seeing them subtract their biggest, meanest defenseman and not replace it. Like, it's really rough to see. But yeah, the West is very convoluted. Mm-hmm. I would have to say, and I'm changing my mind right now, but I would have to say it's 3 in the Pacific and 5 in the Central. I'm hyping up Utah a lot here, but I think they've got it, man. I think that now that they're in a new place, fresh start, an owner who's willing to spend good additions on blue line. Their goaltending was uncharacteristically bad from Vejmelka, and now Ingram's taken a huge role. I can really see that team turning it around like a lot this year.
Right. All right.
Crap, sorry.
You go ahead.
My mic disconnected there for a second. I'm going to move over to the Atlantic Division, where I personally believe Florida will still reign supreme there in first place. I know they've subtracted Montour and Lomberg. Kevin Stenlund was a great fourth line player for them. Like, no doubt these are actual subtractions that will, and OEL as well. They will play a part. I still think, that Reinhart deal's great. Barkov and him have that chemistry. Kachuk's going to do Kachuk things. If Ekblad can stay healthy, I don't see that team finishing lower than second.
Okay. I'm gonna put something in there since it's my team, right? So they've acquired the Boqvist brothers. You have Adam Boqvist and Jesper Boqvist. And you have to remember, Adam Boqvist was a high draft pick.
He was,
and he's been misused. I think that we can begin to see, and the same with Tobias Bjornfot, who is also 23 years of age. So they have some young defensemen who's come in, and they have been a bit misused. They have been relatively high draft picks, and I think that they can do what they did with Gustav Forsling, where they give them a chance to settle into a system. What I like about Florida is they have a set system, and they just switch out the pieces, and everything keeps going. Everything works. The acquisition of Nate Schmidt, perfect in my opinion. He's 33 years of age, good leadership. Kulikov is still there. Mikola is still there. You get Bjornfot, Adam Bjorkqvist, both young guys. You have a Gustav Forsling on a great contract. You have Jesper Bjorkqvist comes in, solid third line, middle six guy, I would say. Entwistle also around there, third line, fourth line guy. AJ Greer, solid fourth liner in my opinion.
Yeah.
Nosek, same thing there. He's 31.
Very good addition.
31. He's got a little bit of experience now, and he's on a minimum wage contract, very cheap. Bill Zito deserves
very
to be
sneaky.
Bill Zito is by far the best GM in the NHL, in my opinion. By far,
I do believe that.
By far, they do. What you have to remember though is they do have a very good coach. Like the
best.
The chaos that has been ensuing before having this coach, which the name escapes me right now.
Paul Maurice.
Paul Maurice, yes. Thank you. Paul Maurice is a great coach. The previous previous coaching situation in Florida have been part of the problem, where we've been switching out coaches, it's been chaos. When we finally got a decent coach in, he got involved in trial stuff from like 10 years ago with Chicago. What was his name?
Joel Quenneville.
Quenneville, right. The team actually started looking good under Joe Quenneville, and then he disappeared. He was forced to resign because of things that happened in Blackhawks like 10 years ago. So it was like, it was really demoralizing. And but yeah, things are looking really good for Florida. You go ahead.
I think Gerard Gallant was a decent option for a few years. He was there with Huberdeau when Huberdeau was still there. I love his two-man forecheck style of play. He did great in Vegas, but what I've noticed with Gallant is he seems to wear out on teams. And like, it's funny because he's such a player's coach, but he seems to run out very quickly on teams, and it's either win or he's gone, and the NHL is incredibly difficult. Look at the coaching turnover we've seen. But at the same time, they got the best coach in the NHL. I've been saying that for years now. Like, John Cooper has all the accolades and all the Jack Adams awards. And actually, I don't think he's won one. But he has the Stanley Cups and everything. You can't deny John Cooper.
John Cooper is definitely one of them up there as well. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Absolutely. But Paul Maurice doing what he's done in Winnipeg, doing what he's done now in Florida, it's really hard to not have him as the best coach. And all those game sevens, like, he's very poised and great with the media, right?
Oh, I love the media. It's like you get gold every single time you listen to him. I do want to mention someone as well. A young goaltender who's been struggling with stuff off ice. He took a year in the AHL. He played 45 games, 2.41 goals against average, 905 save percentage, 5 shutouts, 25 wins, 14 losses, 5 overtime losses. And in the playoffs, he played 2 games, and he had a 1.87 goals against average and a 925 save percentage. Spencer Knight.
To go back, Spencer Knight is his name. And to go back a little bit on that Connor Ingram thing, I know this is a touchy subject, but these guys have both suffered from severe OCD. And with Ingram, he said it himself. Like, when he was drafted by Tampa, he was not ready to be a professional hockey player yet, and he went through a lot of ups and downs. I mean, he didn't play his rookie season until, I believe, 26 or 27. It's hard being a goaltender. It's hard suffering from mental illness. It's something that, teams are doing a lot better now at like realizing, diagnosing, and working on. And, hopefully with the right people around him and the right, therapy and rehab, Spencer Knight could become a premier NHL goaltender again.
And the thing is, Spencer Knight is going to be the backup, as far as I know. Anyway, he's going to be the backup. Both of their contracts expire 2026, so we could see a literal like passing of the torch kind of thing, where you let go of Bobrovsky, he retires in 2026, let's say, and then you extend Spencer Knight. He's on a $4.5 million contract right now. And I don't think that he will be signing any higher than that. Like, not much higher than that in 2026, considering he's not spent a whole lot of time in the NHL. So, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, let's go back to...
That is one of those we'll see sort of things. Because, I mean, Bob... his regular season numbers aren't, I would say, elite.
No, but he's
playoffs.
In the playoffs, he levels up.
I think Florida's going to play a different way next regular season. They learned a lot from this.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say. The next, in second place in the Atlantic, projected or predicted, I have the Boston Bruins.
Mm-hmm.
And Elias Lindholm, Nikita Zadorov, both additions from Vancouver. They did subtract Jake DeBrusk. That I think that's actually a relatively major loss. But to get Lindholm there when they need centers most, that's clutch. That's clutch.
And Lindholm is a top center. He didn't quite get that out in Vancouver, and as we know, Calgary isn't great either. So he's going to be a good center for Boston. He's going to be in a more structured system in Boston. So
he's playing with two Hall of Famers.
Exactly. Yep.
All right. So next, I mean that's a relatively easy team. Like, yes, Nikita Zadorov was overpaid or whatever, but this guy brings so much to the table physically. He's an intimidator. Like, I think he's going to fit in so well with the Bruins, and I actually think he could play 3-4. A lot of people don't believe that. I do. I think $5 million. Yeah, it's $1 million over what he probably could be making on other clubs, but it's a very, very strong Bruins roster there. I don't see them finishing worse than third.
Okay.
The only other team that could beat them out would be the regular season champion every fucking year. The Toronto Maple Leafs. They are the regular season team for sure. Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares. We've all heard it. Regular season team blows it in the playoffs. Look, I hate the Leafs, but they've made good additions this summer. OEL, I think, a little overpaid, but you know what? He's going to stabilize Liljegren.
Yep.
I think Tim and him are going to be a very good 3-4. I think Tanev, if he can stay healthy and the foot isn't a problem, he's going to be great. Hakanpää's out, and we don't know the timeline or anything like that, so that one's a bit tricky. But if he could step in at some point this season, like, that would be a major addition for them.
Yeah,
don't you agree?
For sure. Yeah. One concern I do have in Toronto is that they keep going in the same tracks that they've done the last years without any playoff success. So there's no doubt that they will be in the top of the Atlantic in the regular season, but are they going to make a splash in the playoffs?
I think matchups have a huge part to play in that. For sure. Like, if they line up against Tampa Bay this year or Buffalo, I do think they could win those series. But man, if they're playing Boston or Florida, like, it's going to be really hard to beat one of those wagons, right?
Yeah, I think so too. Interestingly, you put Buffalo after Toronto there in fourth place. You believe that they are ready for a playoff?
I do believe that. I think it's funny because they trade a Matthew Savoie for Ryan McLeod, and yet that's exactly what they needed to do. They have a very small prospect pool, a highly skilled prospect pool, very skilled. They're a very skilled team. They needed some grittiness. They needed some size and some experience. And not to mention, McLeod's very fast. Like, down the middle, they're one of the fastest teams in the NHL. Plus, now they're one of the better face-off teams in the NHL, hopefully. I mean, we'll see how Krebsy develops. I think as a third-line center, it might be McLeod. And then I wonder what they're going to do with Krebs, because I don't see him as a fourth-line player.
No,
they are still in a funny zone, the Sabres, and I do think they need a right-side defenseman.
Yep, they desperately do.
Bowen Byram was a heck of an addition. I mean, he's an elite player,
Yep, definitely.
So, It's hard. I had a toss-up between them and Ottawa. I think Ullmark and Jensen were actually really good ads. I don't hate the Nick Jensen trade as much as some people do. Like, if you listen to Daily Faceoff's Frank Saravalli, God, it sounds like the sky is falling in Ottawa. But it's like Nick Jensen was like, the trade for Chychrun for Jensen was like trading in and I'm not the first to say this, but it was like trading in a sports car for a pickup truck. It might not be as flashy, it might not be as
but it's more reliable,
but it's what you need to get the job done, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
yep.
I do think the Sens, this is what I was going to point out. I believe the Ottawa Senators, who I have in 6th place, are going to have more points than the 3rd place team in the Metropolitan, whoever that is.
Yep. That is the tough spot to be in the Eastern Conference, is that you can have a lot more points and still miss playoffs than the Atlantic, or even in the Western Conference, you know.
Yep, and that's the issue. Actually, Sidney Crosby brought up the issue with the new playoff format. His issue in 2013-14, they switched from 8 per conference to minimum 3 per division.
Yep.
And that is my issue with it as well, is there could be a division such as the Atlantic that everyone's going for it. There's all but one team in the Atlantic division who believes they can make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, Montreal is the only rebuilder. Let's be honest.
The only team, they're the only team in the Atlantic division that, I mean, sure, we hope, but the odds are so stacked against them. They're not going to make the playoffs. There's no chance. But every other team in that division, including Detroit, Ottawa, Buffalo, they're all trying to take that step, and it's a hard step to take, man.
And I do I do agree with you that Tampa is still strong enough to take that last place in Atlantic. Ottawa and Detroit are not good enough to remove Tampa away from that spot. It is interesting though. It's going to be a war for that last spot there in the Atlantic.
Absolutely, it's going to be a battle, and I think whoever that 6th place team is, whether it's Tampa, Buffalo, Ottawa, Detroit, whoever, they're going to be a little pissed off. You know, yep. I think they're going to have more points than that 3rd place team in the Metro, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles, they say. You know, like it's very difficult to take that step. And like you said, Tampa Bay, I mean, they've got Vasilevsky and Kucherov. Like they still have some good, and they have Hedman. Gensel,
yep.
Point, like they're nasty. I don't like what they've done this summer. I'll be honest. I think losing Steven Stamkos was a complete misstep.
I was expecting an extension for him, honestly. But
absolutely, I was as well. And trading Sergachev for Moser and Geekie, despite what a lot of people are saying, it's not as bad as it looks. Like, I think those
it's bad
guys
right
are
now, but
players.
It's a good deal for the future, I think.
I think so too. I think this is a team that's traded a lot of picks away. This could be their sort of way of saying, yeah, we might have messed up a little bit trading, you know, a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and a 5th for Tanner Jeannot. That was a bit extreme, and now they've doubled back. They've acquired some good young players. They actually have a few prospects I'd like to highlight one day on the pod, but I don't want to get bogged down too much with Tampa Bay. I hate them. But
me too.
Of course, being a Panthers and Habs fan here. But no, they're going to be a strong team. Like, Vasilevsky didn't even come in till Christmas there, like, and he still did Vazzy things in the playoffs. He wasn't as good as Shesterkin or Bobrovsky, but he's very good. Like, you can't deny, you know, coming off back surgery, that didn't have a part to play in his, you know, not Vazzy numbers. This guy's gonna do just great. Probably gonna carry that team higher than 5th. I just didn't want to put them any higher.
He could carry them if he has a good season. He could carry them up to higher, but
absolutely.
But yeah, as you say, fifth place is most likely. All right, let's go through the Metro, and then we need to move on.
For sure. In the Metro, this will be very, very quick. I have the Devils winning the President's Trophy this year. I think their additions this summer were fantastic. They've done so well here. Like, I've been whining about this for years, being a Devils fan myself. Like, they needed size. They needed grit. They needed to add some oomph. I think Paul Cotter was a great addition. Plus, he has some sneaky skills. I think Brendan Dillon and Brett Pesce just adding that beef on the blue line, experience. I mean, Brendan Dillon is not a nice character at all. He's fucking mean. It's going to be a fight between them and the Rangers, but I don't really see the Rangers having done much. Like, they're trying to trade Trouba now. It's a whole mess in New York. I think the Devils are going to capitalize on that, and the Rempe effect brought in McDermott and now Pesce and Dillon, and they're going to be a tough team, man, and very high skill in the top six.
Yep.
I think Dawson Mercer is going to have a breakout season as well. It was a really hard choice for the third place. The top two was easy in the Metro, but third place, I'm going to go with Washington. I think that their additions on blue line were fantastic. I'm not sure about Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Let's see what they added. So they added okay.
Matt Roy and Chychrun.
Okay, so and they have Fehérváry with
very good
with pass in Malmö. Ethan Bear, Alexiev, Carlson, Sandin, Trevor Van Riemsdyk. They still have Backstrom, although he has a hip injury, expected to miss entire season.
Yeah,
that's not good. I mean, they still have Ovechkin, TJ Oshie, Connor McMichael is young, and they did add Andrew Mangiapane, right?
Yep, Mange, and they added obviously Pierre-Luc and Taylor Radish, who has 20 seasons under his belt.
Tillstrom, Duhamel, is he new?
Brendan Duhamel is new. Yep.
Yeah. Right.
I think that they've made themselves very hard to play against.
Mm-hmm.
I think Matt Roy is one of the most underrated players in the NHL, and LA's really going to miss that guy. I mean, LA's its own can of worms, but I think Washington, it's going to be close. The Islanders, Sorokin has a big year. They could be something. Philadelphia, I mean, Matvei Michkov, right? Like, is he going to come in and be a point-per-game player? It's a lot of expectation on a 19-year-old. Like, I hope he does well. Pittsburgh, can Crosby carry that city? Absolutely, he could. I think Carolina is going to be a real disappointment, though.
Yep.
I believe that Carolina is going to have an absolutely abysmal season, losing the best 3-4 in the NHL with Shea and Pesce, losing Gensel. I don't know, man. Like, I don't think they're going to make it. I could be so wrong here.
Who did they add? Because they lost so many. They lost so many players. Who did they add? Like, legitimately? Because, I mean, they have Brent Burns, Jalen Chatfield, Gostisbehere, Orlov.
Yeah.
Oh, Joakim Ryan is actually on their NHL roster, but he's signed with the AHL team. So how does that work out?
He will probably play as like a 13th forward, like an extra guy.
Okay.
I believe he's getting $1.1 million. I could be wrong there.
No, 775.
Really,
according to Puckpedia.
Okay. There's someone there that they have who's at like $1.1 million, and that's only because they won't get claimed on waivers. It's kind of like a cheat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the Gostisbehere Walker additions at all. I think they're already a fairly small team. and adding 2 non-physical puck-moving defensemen. Look, both those guys are great. Like, I don't dislike Sean Walker or Ghost, but they're not defensive juggernauts, you know?
But they have Jacob Slavin, and Orlov is pretty damn physical, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't understand why
sure.
Orlov is on a $7.750 million though. That's crazy. Where did he get that from?
My tinfoil hat theory on that is they own top D prospect Alex Nikishin, who's currently the captain of SK St. Petersburg right now.
Mm-hmm.
And like, he is really, really good. He just signed another 2-year extension in Russia that'll bring him to 25 years old. He's following a similar path to Kirill Kaprizov. He doesn't want to play under an entry-level contract in the NHL. He wants to have his cake and eat it, essentially. He wants to come over to the NHL and sign a pro-level deal so that he's making $4.5 $5 million his rookie season, not entry-level money.
Right.
Understandable, but in my eyes, they brought in Orlov at that dollar because they believed that when Shea and Pesci left, that they would have Nikishin Orlov as a 3-4. Orlov's very comfortable on the right side. I believe he was there to kind of mentor Nikishin, and now that Nikishin signed a 2-year extension in Russia,
the KHL, yep.
It's, that really screwed up their plans. And instead of spending that money, I would have doubled down and had a retooling year. I really would have. I would have traded Natchez for some young talent, maybe a defenseman if you could. Do something that's going to make you better in the long run instead of tying your hands with salary money that is unwarranted. Like, there is no way. You're on Puckpedia. How many years did Sean Walker sign?
I'm actually on Elite Prospects, but they reference Puckpedia for the salary stuff.
Gotcha. I'm pretty sure Sean Walker signed a 6-year contract.
Sean Walker, there's a dash on him. There's no information on him.
Gotcha. I'm pretty sure he signed a 6-year contract in Carolina, and that's just like, why? I'll never understand why. He's great player, total misfit in that club. I'm waiting to be proven wrong, but they have a lot of red flags, and I don't see them as a playoff team anymore. I really don't.
Yeah, no, this is a bit of a retooling year for sure. They're going to be outside. All right, do you feel done with the Metro, or do you want to mention Columbus at all? Philadelphia Islanders?
No, I think that's good. I mean, I'm hoping Michkov does well. Mm-hmm. I think Columbus is going to be pretty rough. I don't see them having done much. They got rid of the Roslovic thing. That was good. David Juracek will play in the NHL this year. I'd hang my hat on that. But yeah, that's about it, I'd say.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've gone about almost 50 minutes.
So, thanks for listening to me ramble on here, but
no problem. This will be, so we want to kind of funnel into the you wanted to talk about prospects, the top 5 prospects and Swedish prospects under 23 years of age.
That's right. Just very quickly as well. I think Leo Carlson is the under 23 player right now.
Mm-hmm.
He only had 30 points in 55 games, which isn't like Bedard, but I think this kid this year, if Anaheim can stay healthy and all things go right, I think he could have easily 60, 70 points minimum this season. That's a real player to watch. Lucas Raymond, man, like, what a breakout year. 31 goals, 72 points, plays a full season. I think Detroit, like, that's their guy now. Like, I know they gave Brinkett all that money, and I know Dylan Larkin is a fan favorite, Michigan boy, all those things. I think Raymond could become Detroit's best player this year.
Mm-hmm.
Solidify himself in that. Next, I have Simon Edvinsson. I would say he's the third-ranked Swedish player under 23. 54 games, 30 points in the AHL last year with Grand Rapids.
Mm-hmm.
He's a defensive defenseman. Like he's not.
He's a big guy.
He's big,
6'6"
great gap control, great edge work. Honestly, like his skating's so good for a guy his size. He's a freak. Only 2 points in 16 NHL games. He got a taste of it, and he has a lot to work on. But I think that player has the potential to be just nasty with Moritz Seider. Don't you agree?
Yeah, him and Moritz Seider is the bona fide pairing there in the future, for sure. Moritz Seider being the more offensive of the two. And don't forget, they do still have Sandin Pellikka as well, who's an offensive defenseman, very, very skilled. Right. But he's unsigned, and he's going to stay at least one more year in Skellefteå to develop further. He will be absolute elite once he signs in the NHL, man.
For sure.
Because he's already too good for the SHL, in my opinion.
I agree, and I would have had him on this list, but I think it's very close. But I think Tom Willander, who I have in 5th, is going to really surprise a lot of people. He's not even that big, actually. But both him and Sandin Pellikka are not a monster defenseman, but Willander is sneaky. Willander is a very sneaky player. I watched him play with Lane Hudson and Macklin Celebrini quite a bit this year when I was covering the
NCAA
the prospects. And man, like this guy, he can just find lanes for the puck to go. It's not always the hardest shot. It's the one that gets through. I think that in the NHL is something teams are just dying for. And he's a Vancouver Canuck. Like, that is just the perfect place for this kid to be. Yeah, I'm saying Tom Willander over Sandin Pellikka. I cannot wait to be proven wrong and see Sandin Pellikka put up 82 points his rookie season because he's capable of that.
Yep.
It's close.
He definitely is. He's not Cale Makar level, but I think he could be just under, you know?
Yeah.
He's being compared to Erik Karlsson, so it's like that kind of level of points.
The right-handed Swedish Quinn Hughes, and that's pretty
much, yeah.
In 4th, I have William Eklund. I know I went from 5 to 4.
Yeah. William Eklund is well known. He's the son of another Eklund who's Christian Eklund, and Victor Eklund, his brother, is also on the way to the NHL. But yeah, go ahead and talk about William.
I think the Sharks this year, with all their additions, they got a lot tougher. They're not even that big, but they're going to be a really hard team to play against. I'm looking at Grundstrom. I'm looking at Barclay Goodrow. Sorry, I'm looking at even Tyler Toffoli is a very hard player to play against. I think they're going to be very good, and I think Eklund with Zetterlund and Granlund, the Lunds, I think they're going to be elite together again. They were great last year. That was San Jose's most dangerous line. And yeah, I would not be surprised to see this kid put up 25, 30 goals and 60, 70 points for sure.
Cool. And they will still be out of the playoffs. They're still going to be a bottom team.
Yep.
Despite that. Yep. All right. That was the top 5 prospects, right? So let's move on to was that kind of baked into the under 23 Swedish prospects, or?
That's right. Right. All of these guys are under 23 years of age, and I think all of them have potential to be first line or first pairing guys in their prime.
All right. You know what? It's going to be an extra long episode this time, but hopefully you stick with us. So we'll make a switch from the NHL focus now to home soil, SHL, Swedish hockey, right? I have, after much consideration, I have my ranking, my prediction of the regular season. SHL is insanely close, so this will probably be very wrong, but this is my official ranking of where the teams are going to be. So Färjestad will win the regular season. They finish with the highest points. Skellefteå, the reigning champion, will be second. Växjö Lakers will be third. Frölunda will be fourth. Luleå will be fifth. Rögle will be sixth. And then in the play-in spots will be Leksand, Malmö, Timrå, and Linköping. Modo and Brynäs will be 11th and 12th, which basically means they just stop playing. And Örebro and HV71 will have to qualify in the seven game series to see who stays up and who has to go down to the second tier league, Hockeyallsvenskan.
So may I ask one thing? Why Örebro so low?
Örebro has had quite a bit of chaos. They haven't replaced, in my opinion, the ones they lost. They lost. They haven't really, like, their additions just aren't really that exciting. David Quenneville is a very small guy. He's skilled, but he comes from Oskarshamn, where he was last. I think Radivojevic, I don't know how much he will be playing. He's 17 years of age. I don't think that he'll be playing a full season in the SHL already.
Okay.
He might be going between the J20 and the men's league. Noah Stan, another young guy. I mean, it's difficult to judge these guys. They haven't really added much, whereas other teams have added more, and they've had the off-ice chaos as well. So I just think, and they have an aging Enroth. They have Jonas Enroth. He's 36 years of age now. Like there's not enough there, in my opinion. There's the other teams have become better, and they haven't improved, in my opinion. But maybe I'm completely wrong. You see, it's very, very difficult. It's very very close. It's very, very close. HV71, they qualified last year, and I don't see how they have a new coach that haven't ever coached on the level before. They have a new GM who was fired from Rögle. Chris, I believe his name is Chris Abbott, or it's Cam. Cam and Chris Abbott are brothers. I don't remember who's who. One of them is a coach, one of them is a GM. But the GM part of the brothers are now in HV71, and I just think they've already had some chaos off ice with their star player, and the agent going out in the media and stuff like that. So I don't see them. I see them in a battle at the bottom again this year. As far as Brynäs is new to. They're back in the SHL. Congratulations to them. They absolutely cruised through Hockeyallsvenskan last year. They've added quite a few good players. My concern is that they haven't gotten rid of people who were the cause of the demotion 2 years ago. And I don't know that I see them immediately making the step up to the top 10 and the playing spots. I don't see them doing that. Modo, same thing. They have been a little bit. They came up. They had their first season. The second year after promotion is always more difficult than the first. So I think they're going to be in the sort of like not qualifying but not playing playoffs kind of spot there as well. The other teams are just better, in my opinion. And obviously, I'm hoping that Malmö will be even better than 8th. It might be optimistic even. They might be 10th. But it's very, very close. The difference between the teams are so small. The biggest difference that you'll see in the standings is the top 5 and the rest. Last year, it was particularly clear that the top 5 was just in a class of themselves. But it was between the teams of each section, it was really, really close. Like, it was a few points here or there. We missed the playoffs by like 2 or 3 points, so it's not like a huge gap. So this prediction might be very wrong, but this is what I think. I would argue SHL, despite being 14 teams instead of 32, is still more difficult to predict because the NHL is a little bit more clear-cut. Who is a rebuilder, who is a middling team, who's trying to get into the playoffs, who are contenders. It's a little bit more like you can clearly tell. And then obviously some teams fall through because of injuries and whatnot, but beforehand it's kind of clear-cut which teams are sort of going to the playoffs. Whereas SHL is the difference between qualifying to stay up and being in a play-in round. It's not that big. It could be like 1 or 2 wins, And the fact is, we have a 3-2-1 0-point system, so a win is worth more. Like winning on regular time is worth more than it is in the NHL, because you have you winning on regular time, winning on overtime there's no difference. So the amount of overtime wins you get versus overtime losses is usually what determines who is where in the table, because it's just so close between each team. And then Badinka was announced, loaned back from Carolina to Malmö, which I'm really, really happy about. And I wanted you to speak about that a little bit. I want your opinion on that now that it's confirmed. What do you think about it? What do you want to see from him this year? And so forth.
I don't know too much about who the top pair would be, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Badinka earn that. Very similar to Tom Willander in some ways. He's very good at getting pucks to areas, even if it's not the hardest pass or the hardest shot. He's good at getting pucks through. I think his gap control is elite already. In my eyes, he's a first rounder.
Right. I will say, based on what he showed last year, he was a little bit overplayed because we had a lot of injuries. But based on what he showed last year, he wasn't quite that solid in the defensive zone on the big ice. I would say that Robin Salo and Thompson, that they're going to be the top pairing, and they're going to be solidified on the top pairing. Good. But I would want to see Badinka on that second pairing. Like I would.
You know what?
And he is a top 4 defenseman, potentially also in the NHL for sure.
I believe this. Yeah, with development, in mind. I think the additions of Stenberg and, like you said, Lassie, they're going to be producing more offense with those two.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Badinka is going to fit in just great. Another season there. He's going to get bigger. He's going to get stronger.
Yep.
More clever in a way, because on that big ice, you need to predict a little bit more. You need to be able to jump gaps. And I think his skating is going to take him a long way this season.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to watch him this preseason in particular. I think he's going to get more ice time in the preseason, just to give him a chance to settle back in.
Very normal.
Yeah,
that's very normal with young players. You want to give them that opportunity to shine.
Mm-hmm.
Show what you're made of, kid. And I really think Malmö fans are going to be just very happy with both Badinkas.
Yeah, his brother is still going to play with the J20, if I'm not mistaken. One thing I do want to mention also is we loaned out Freddy Larsson to the third tier league called Hockeyettan, so basically Division 1, but Hockey 1. To IK Panton is the name of the team, and they are a local club in northern Malmö, so they're literally across town, which is very important because you loan out a player and then you can get him back if we need him to cover injuries, and it's literally no travel time, right? and we're hoping that Malmö and Panton can establish a relationship again, like we had 5-6 years ago, where we had players come to Malmö and then get loaned out and then develop in the second tier league at the time, and then when they were ready they took the step up. Our current captain is a great example of that. He was a fourth line center, came to Malmö, got loaned out, developed well in Panton, and then was ready to take the step up to the SHL to Malmö Redhawks, and he just skyrocketed through the lines and was a first line center, and then he got the chance. He did play a little bit with the San Jose Sharks, for example. So
Yeah.
The development path there is very important to have locally. And yeah,
I think Malmö's going to be good, man.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I really hope so. There's been quite a lot of disappointment the last few years, but I do see the upside, especially last year and this coming year, I think it's going to be more positive around the club, and the results are going to be more positive. We'll see what happens on the preseason as well, because we're going to face off against SHL teams pretty much all around. So, okay, what Malmö players need to step up from last season. So there's a few players that I will mention that I think needs to step up if we're gonna have a good year, that are not new acquisitions. Teemu Kivihalme was injured. He's a defenseman, 29 years of age. He was injured early on in the season after scoring, I don't know, 8 points in 15 games or something. He was like scoring every other game, it seemed. He was really, really good, and then he got injured, got in a freak injury caused by a referee. So I really hope that he has a great year. Jakub Galvas as well. He didn't have a great year his first year. I will say it was like an okay year, but we need more from him, and I hope that we will. He's only 25 years of age. He should be much better this year after getting a full season under his belt. Johan Ivarsson returned from Södertälje in the second tier league last year. He had a rough start. He took a lot of weird penalties that he probably shouldn't have, and I hope that he will continue to be a solid defenseman, but cut down on the penalties. That would be my wish. And then obviously Badinka, just keep on developing, man. And then the other guys are basically all new acquisitions. On the forward side, I would say I want to see Albert Sjöberg, who is a Dallas Stars prospect. I want to see him develop further. He had a rough start to the year last year. He didn't play much, but he really had a upturn in development the second half of the year, and I think if he can continue that path this year, it's going to be a very fun winter. Same with Carl Palsson. He had his season best. Let me see what he had. He had a season best, career best. 32 points, 15 goals, 17 assists in 51 games. His best career season ever. And I hope that he continues that path, because the year before he had 26 points. So we're looking at maybe 35 points from him this year. That would be plenty. Other than that, I think as long as Fredrik Hendemark, our captain, continues to do what he's doing and play big, use his body. He has a big body. He is, let me see, he's 6'4", 209 pounds. He's a face-off specialist and our leader, and it's pretty clear. He had a good year last year, 32 points, and if he can keep that up, then we should have a solid season. Same with who am I thinking of? Let's see. Yeah, we do have some solid bottom six guys. Kristoffer Forsberg and where is he? Johan Olofsson. They're good for 15 points, and that is more than enough to have a good year as a team. They're very important for the team morale, very good for PK, and then obviously all the new acquisitions, I hope they pan out very well. Most of them are Swedish, I will say, or they have played in Sweden for a while. For example, Robin Hansel has been playing for a while in Sweden already. He knows the league well. Linus Öberg as well. He knows it well, and Otto Stenberg will be new to the level, but he's aware of the difference. So there's a lot of upside to this team and to the new acquisitions, as well as the remaining players from last year, and we'll see what happens. We do have two new coaches, two assistant coaches, and they are going to bring some different ideas. We'll be seeing a more skilled team, possibly, and more structured defensively. That's what I'm hoping for.
That's great, man. I really hope so as well.
I'm wondering, do you want me to go over also the preseason schedule, or do you have anything you want to put in here?
I think, SHL, like you said, it's so hard to predict. But I do think, just like the NHL, if some of these guys can get a good preseason in, that's going to be a huge stepping stone to having a big regular season and hopefully playoffs. So, I want to see these young guys develop. I really want to see even Robin Salo and Lashy Thompson, these guys are NHL level guys. I want to see them dominate this year. I want to see them really go out there and produce and be those, second level guys, NHL level guys that can really help carry this team to new heights.
Yep. That is our hope. So yeah, I'm just gonna go over the preseason tournament and preseason schedule real quick. So for Malmö Redhawks, this preseason. So the preseason starts on Monday, which is tomorrow, as this is published on Sunday. So tomorrow morning, the official start of the preseason starts, and there's an open ice practice. I will be attending, and I'll be live streaming from there if I can, if the internet is good enough, from inside the rink. Then I will live stream a little bit, talk about what I'm seeing there, and then the week after that, so we're talking 12th to 18th of August, is when there's a preseason tournament in Visby, where Malmö will be facing Visby Roma, HV71 and Oskarshamn. So one Hockey Ettan team, one Hockey Allsvenskan team, and one SHL team. And then August 22nd is when we will have the one and only home game of the preseason against the German team, Fishtown Penguins. And then the rest of the schedule is a number of different games against Linköping, Örebro, and Frölunda to finish it off. They also have another game against another German league team, Grizzlies Wolfsburg. I will be going to that. It's in Trelleborg, so it's not very far away from Malmö. I will be going to see that game as well. Maybe even be able to live stream a little bit from that game if I'm able to. So yeah, that's the preseason schedule there. Frölunda will be the last preseason game. That's going to be, when everything needs to be ready for that home opener. And I was going to also mention that Malmö Redhawks, the first 5 games is going to be Skellefteå at home, Modo away, Växjö at home, Rögle away, and then Luleå at home. So it's gonna be it's a tough schedule. It's home away, home away, home. So it really is back and forth, back and forth. I do find it funny sometimes the way they put the schedules, because it's a lot of traveling unnecessarily. But yeah, Skellefteå at home will be a banger of a game. They're the reigning champions. Malmö has been good versus them sometimes, and sometimes we're just not there. If we are at our best and they are not at their best, then we can beat them every day of the week. So that is what we're hoping for, that we are better on it than they are for that home opener. And then we have the, Modo away in Örnsköldsvik. And then we go back home to Växjö. Växjö is a team that in recent memory has become sort of that rival team a little bit. Even though they're not in our region, they're still a little bit of a rival team because there is some connections there with players going from Malmö to Växjö and so forth. And then Rögle away obviously is a rival, a big rival. So that's going to be a crazy game. Gonna tune in for that. And then Luleå at home. Luleå is always a very difficult opponent. They always play a very good shutdown game. They don't let a lot of goals in. 1, maybe 2 goals against. They're very, very good defensively, and now they've added quite a few good offensive players, so they're going to be a difficult game as well. So we will have a pretty difficult first 5 games, but I do think that we can get away with 2 or 3 wins out of those 5 games. I hope that we can win away to Rögle for sure. That would be a great start to the season. And yeah, that's my thought on the start to the 2024-25 season here.
Let's go Malmö.
All right. Anything else to add? Otherwise, I feel like we are pretty much finished up.
I think we've covered everything today. Next episode, to bore the audience even more, I'm going to talk about money stuff.
Yeah.
I really want to get into like the issues with a team like Toronto's cap, tax stuff, because I think there's a lot of misconception about tax in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to cover, obviously some more prospect stuff, and yeah, we'll do that all next time. I've rambled enough.
Next time we'll also go over the first week of practice, the interviews and stuff that we've seen. There will be interviews coming out during that first week from the team's own channels as well. So we'll have plenty to talk about in a week's time. On top of what you just mentioned with the cap, we probably should, for the European listeners, we probably should go over what the cap is, because we don't have a cap. We don't have a salary cap in European hockey, so you should probably go over what that is and why it was implemented and so forth as well. A little bit of history maybe. Yeah. But yeah, we are done for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode will be up on Spotify, and you can also watch this episode on YouTube, Redhawks Report. Okay. We're done.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye for now.